Good evening and welcome to the January 14th, 2020 regular board meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please? Ms. Whitcamp.
Alan Getty?
Yes?
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Bill DeSantis?
Yes.
We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance by Washington Avenue Elementary School.
For the pledge, we have from Washington Avenue, Jeremiah Sombrano, our president, Bryson Reyna, our secretary, Aiden Cobos, representative, Christy Ruiz, our treasurer, Ryder Dean, representative, Miley Prudencio, representative, Haley Steinkamp, representative, Maya Olivas, representative, Brianna Calkins, representative. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures. I just want to say it's an honor to be here, to be with some mentors I've had, and their first time at this meeting. I really am happy to be here. Thank you so much for letting us do this.
Good job, man. Good job. 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 Good job.
If you would remain standing for our moment of appreciation from Shelley Bruns.
Dr. McElroy, President Getty, and esteemed members of the school board, I am in awe of and sincerely humbled by the men and the women of the Roswell Independent School District Special Services Department that willingly choose to serve students with special needs in varying capacities like educational assistants, special education teachers, preschool education associates, data information specialist, administrative assistants, bookkeeper, Medicaid specialist, data records clerk, gifted and talented teachers, gifted and talented coordinator, speech language pathologist, social workers, behavior intervention specialist, occupational therapist, certified occupational therapy assistants, physical therapists, physical therapy assistants, nurses, educational diagnosticians, school psychologist, itinerant teacher for the deaf and hearing impaired, sign language interpreters, sign language immersion educational assistants, deaf and hard of hearing educational associates, brailing and visual educational associates, itinerant teacher for the visually impaired, IEP specialist, transition specialist, transition assistant, and community connections with adult providers or CCAP job coaches. I am truly thankful for each and every one of them and all that they do in schools to work with students at varying grade and functional levels between the ages of 3 and 21 at all sites, collaboratively with a multitude of school teams to support disabilities so that students see their possibilities and they learn ways to utilize their strengths to overcome their weaknesses. These staff members have willingly chosen to build a deep and meaningful foundation of love, respect, celebration of differentiation for academic, functional, and transitional success with students that will carry them far into the future to someday determine how they would lead and to serve in their communities. Please, let's take a moment to appreciate the staff.
Thank you. You may
Thank
be
you.
seated. All right. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Mr. Getty, there are no modifications to the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk. May I have a second?
Second.
I have a second made by Ms. Morales. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it and the motion is carried. We will now have inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
Yes, sir,
Okay. All right. What's that?
Our first one?
Well, let me go through the thing here.
Oh, that's right.
I gotta read this. Yep. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. Please do not discuss confidential personnel matters, including those of a disciplinary nature, regarding any RISD employee. This should be discussed with the superintendent or the employee's supervisor. Please self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. You may be given a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. If needed to accommodate a large number of speakers and maintain a reasonable meeting schedule, the time limit for all speakers may be shortened. No sharing of time is permitted. Public commentary and dialogue is only guaranteed during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. For the safety of others, for the safety of yourself and others, signs and placards are not permitted in the boardroom. However, you are invited to express your concerns during public forum or submit your concerns to the board in writing.
Our first speaker is Randy Likens.
Good evening. Superintendent McElroy, President Legatti, members of the board, congratulations on the new members. My name is Randy Likens, and I'm a gifted educator and case manager for almost between 70 and 80 kids at Roswell High. And my question is here, in the comments that I would like to make, is I'm going to have a statement here, and then I'll explain. My concern is not with the gifted kids nor the high achievers, because they will be successful no matter what. Over the 5 years that I've been here, I've heard many educators, and I've heard many different superintendents, or not superintendents, but administrators that have made this statement. My question to you is, I've been very blessed at Roswell High. I bleed Roswell High. I graduated from Roswell High in 1969, so I've been there a while. And the point that I'm talking about is that in the pathway that we're doing at Roswell High and talking about pathway education, I noticed in the redesign committee that there was no pathway for gifted or high achievers. In bringing that to Mr. Warner's attention, to Dr. Bond's attention, to Godswill's attention, they have asked me to look for a pathway to try to help that we can make that in here. And I am doing that. The problem that we look at is that pathways cost money, don't they? So my question is this to each and every one of you, is that where do you get the money for the gifted kids? The answer is the gifted kids give you the money. Just by their identification, last year in 2018 and 19, Roswell District got $4,200 per student just for the gifted kids at the high school level. And it varies all the way down. Mr. Vigil did not allow me to, I won't say allow me, wasn't able to return my call to allow me what the new money is for this year. But at Roswell High, since I've been there, we've averaged between $300,000 and $400,000, and sometimes close to $500,000 each year. And none of that money is being used for gifted education. The ideal is that when we go back and look at the reason for this money to be here, as Shelley said a while ago, and all the people that are involved in it, I'm sorry?
30 seconds?
That money has to be here somewhere. And my ask on this thing is that we reevaluate that. That money is brought here by the gifted kids and should be used, at least in part, for them, especially to develop these pathways. And I would certainly appreciate the consideration for that, because it's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Shea?
I'm going to have to move that down. Good evening. Superintendent McElroy, President Getty, esteemed members of the school board. Again, welcome to those of you who this is your first meeting. I am here tonight in support of Mr. Lyken's comments, but also in support of the Gifted Mentorship Program. Gifted Mentorship Program has been in our district for 38 years. Last semester was only the second time in that history that we did not hold, that I understand, a Gifted Mentorship reception. I don't know what's happened to the Gifted Mentorship Program or what the next path will be provided. However, that program has been a critical part of our district for 38 years. I would like, hopefully, for you to look into that and to see what is going to be done for those students. It is a Gifted Mentorship Program. I understand through the pathways that have been developed, there are mentorship opportunities for other students, which I think are fabulous and great. We also have all, in the past, included other students not identified in the Gifted Mentorship Program. However, the mentorship program only existed at Roswell High, to my knowledge, in the last few years. And it was at Goddard, I'm sorry, not at Roswell High, at Goddard High School. I have been in the district 21 years. The majority of my time has been spent in high school gifted education. Currently, I'm at Valley View Elementary School in the working with gifted students there. This is about providing a continuum of services based upon whatever you decide that to be. We know that there's funding. We know that legally it's put into the General Operations Fund. I would like to see the continuum of services that we've had in our district for several years extended to those students who are currently part of that identified gifted population. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Orlando Padilla?
Good evening, all. School board members, superintendent, and staff, central staff. My name is Orlando Padilla, and first of all, I wanted to thank you all for your time and your work that you put in for our children. It's been brought to our attention, Coalition for Equity and Physical Responsibility. It concerns the changes that are being made at the alternative school, University High. Changes being made suggest it to be a charter school instead of an alternative school. The requirements that have been imposed and of conferences with parents and students that are being denied access makes it a charter school. This could be a violation of a Free and Public Education Act. The coalition has received concerns regarding students being denied enrollment during this last month. Your concern is about requirements or data instead of helping kids, which goes against what educators believe. Kids first. Putting your block schedule first and students second and creating a February the 7th cutoff date and not taking a risk students in March, April, and May is a violation of the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit. The district needs to act wisely and avoid any further lawsuits. Thank you for your time.
Bobby Villegas.
Good evening, Superintendent, Mr. Getty, school board members, congratulations again. I'm here because I'm really concerned about the census. My name is Bobby Villegas. I live at 602 Estrellita. So I'm really concerned about the census and the fact that the school system is working with the school census. And the program that I've had is that the census, the school system are going to be working with our elementary schools with coloring books. I'm also going to have a program at Roswell High and have a band and have music there to get the students to convince them to have their parents, particularly the undocumented, the green card holders, and the DACA kids, to fill out the forms. However, the concern is that the census, if President Trump requests the information from the census to give it to ICE, they will have to do that. And I know the census is saying that it is protected. It is only, there's a $250,000 fine if a worker divulges information from the census, but that's for the workers, not for any government entity. So as we move into our school system and we find out what they're doing with the census and the schools, we're going to register a lot of those people that will be at risk, those being undocumented, green card holders, and DACA. So I'll give you this example. In 1940, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the Census Bureau secretly provided the information to the other government entities, and all Americans with Japanese ancestry were arrested. Mothers and dads and kids were put in cages, kind of like our administration has done in the border. In 1988, President Reagan apologized to the Japanese for the atrocities that he says was the worst atrocity ever made against civil rights. And you can look this up under the secret use of census info help sent Japanese Americans to internment camp. Now, in 1988, then, when President Reagan apologized to the Japanese Americans, they also gave them $20,000, those families they could find, because not only did they arrest them and put them in cages, they confiscated all their properties. And this was done secretly. In 2000, when the towers were destroyed, the Census Bureau again secretly provided Homeland Security the information they had, also that the areas that had a predominant population of Arab Americans would be kept under surveillance. This is done by the census, and this is not too long ago. Now, so if President Trump asks that, it will cause our kids and parents to be in trouble. All I'm asking is that if you're going to support the census, and I support the census as an American citizen, we should give those parents and their kids the other side. We should tell them these stories and tell them that if they tell their parents to fill out the census forms, they can be deported. If Trump gets it, they will all be deported. I just feel we should give them, tell them both sides of the story, and let the parents decide if they want to do that. Thank you very much.
Juan Oropesa.
Thank you. Good evening, President Getty, board members, Superintendent McElroy, and staff. First, I wanted to again congratulate the two new board members, and I know that they're going to do a great job because it is for the kids. I stand before you as a concerned citizen. I am concerned about the changes that I have heard that will take effect at University High. I apologize ahead of time if my statements are not accurate. However, they are based on facts as I understand them. From what I understand, originally University High was set up as an alternative setting for kids that for whatever reason were not able to function in the standard high school setting. It was supposed to be a safety net and a resource to provide opportunities for students to be able to succeed in achieving an education and hopefully carry that success into their future plans. I understand the changes at University High will prohibit a student to attend University High unless the student follows the process of making an application, go through an interview process, and a screening process. This, in my opinion, shatters the purpose of why it was set up in the first place. RISD is a public education institution which should welcome students with open arms. Not to mention, as you well know, funding for the district is determined on a number of factors, which one is the number of students it serves. By putting this kind of restrictions, one can argue the school district has implemented a process similar to what charter schools uses, which eliminates the theory of free education. This process has the potential of whoever makes a decision to accept a student or not to discriminate against the student or students for one reason or another. This process can potentially be used to weed out students that in the evaluator's opinion does not deserve an opportunity. So it allows the evaluator or evaluators to become judge and jury and have a tremendous negative impact in a student's future. Everyone deserves a free education. For the most part, these students, I would argue, are at-risk students. I can't understand why one would want to put a student that may be having problems of one nature or another through this type of process. This can also be interpreted as a violation of the Yazzie-Martinez settlement. So in my opinion, I believe staff, in particular the superintendent, should discuss these types of issues with the board before moving forward with the implementation. I hope and urge the board to consider overturning this process because that would be the right thing to do. Our kids deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dolores Frescas.
I'm really going to have to lower it. My voice carries though. Good evening, school board members, superintendent. I'm simply here because I wanted to congratulate the two new school board members, Hilda Sanchez and Hope Morales. And I hope that along with the other school board members, they will see the needs and the necessities that are here in Roswell to educate all our children. I taught at Roswell High School for 40 years. I taught for the junior college out there. I worked for Portales supervising school teachers, and I know what education needs. I started at Roswell High School back in 1968-69 when they had 2,200 students. 90% of the student body was Anglo-Saxon. I left first time in the year 2000, whenever my husband became superintendent, because I didn't want to work for him. No. My father was ill and my mother needed help. He was probably one of the best superintendents Roswell has ever had because he saw the change. He had worked as dean of instruction of curriculum, or something, dean of students out at the campus. And then he started the one in Albuquerque. However, I have seen Roswell High since 1968 all the way through about 2014, okay, 40 years of it. I hope that you continue to see the change. The population at Roswell High changed in number, and it changed in ethnic background. You must deal with ethnic background. I tried very hard to get education in English and in Spanish throughout the city, but it didn't work. I was born and raised in Santa Fe. When I first came to Roswell, I could go to Sears and find a Hispanic person because they looked like me, and I'd speak Spanish, and they wouldn't speak Spanish back to me. They were not allowed. The more languages you know, the more people you get to know and love and want to help. Congratulations, Senora Sanchez, Senora Morales. Edwards, I've known you for a long time. He used to commute with my husband from Las Vegas at points, but anyway, I knew him from the Boys Club. Please, look at what we have. Better what you can. Okay? Thank you.
That's it. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes.
So, Mr. Getty, members of the board, There is an error on the minutes, in the draft of the minutes. There is an executive session noted in the minutes from last meeting. We did not have an executive session at the last meeting, so that entire section of the minutes needs to be struck. With that modification, I would recommend approval of the minutes as amended of the regular board meeting of December 10th that would be 2019.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve as
Amended.
amended?
As amended.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Sanchez. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We now have the consent agenda.
I recommend approval of the consent agenda, which includes approval of the December bills, authorization of the January bills, and approval of the January bars.
Is there any discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk. May I have a second?
I second.
A second made by Ms. Morales. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have our action items. First, we have the approval of out-of-state travel for robotics tournament.
And there are better presenters than I for this particular
And here they come.
endeavor.
Superintendent.
The microphone up. Thank you.
What's going on?
Hello,
with that?
Dr. McElroy, President, and the rest, and the board members. I'm Joanna Alvarez, and we are Hangar 84, Team 7271. We are a robotics team with Early College and Roswell High School.
Scoot up a little
To the
closer. There you
microphone.
go.
This will be our third year competing with over 30 students participating. We are currently using the Ice Center at ENMUR, which allows us to use a 3D printer, laser engraver, a wood shop, a metal shop, vinyl printers, a lot for us to use. Last year we went to competition with your permission, and we're here today to request permission to travel.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn, and on behalf of our robotics team, we would like to give a thanks to Dr. McElroy for helping us find sponsors last year. Without her help, we would not have been able to attend state competition in Austin, Texas. We would also like to give a thanks to Jennifer Cole for helping us with registration funds this year. We are very grateful for their support.
I am PH from Hangar 84 Robotics, and I'm here to explain what the FIRST competitions are. So, firstly, get the joke. FIRST stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, and they provide opportunities to our students to further their education by providing scholarships and just bringing them into many different career areas like business, technology, science, and engineering. And FIRST also poses competitions for these students to practice these career skills in action. Hangar 84 will be participating in this year's FIRST robotics competition, and by doing this, they will be challenged to work as a team, generate funds, and develop a team brand, as well as produce and program a large-scale robot that will be controlled in these competitions, working with and against other student teams. All in all, these competitions are an incredible resource to our students to sharpen their leadership and engineering skills.
Yes, please.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Dimitri Azi, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about this year's FIRST robotics competition. So, in Infinite Recharge, that's a game name, teams are tasked with creating a robot that can not only store power cells, which is this, but shoot them into a specified target zone. So during the competition, teams of 3 race for 2.5 minutes, and try to score as many points as possible, and win the round. So the ranking system, it's kind of hard to explain, but how it works is the more rounds you win in the competition, the higher chance you have of getting into district championships and nationals. Imagine Roswell being in nationals. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Cole Borner. I'm going to be talking about the impact of our program. The students who participate in our robotics program have benefited greatly from the experience because we provide them an opportunity to gain practical experience in areas that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do, like graphic design and mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. We also give them exposure to some vital business skills as well as vital leadership skills. That's a big one. We also strive to impact New Mexico and Roswell's community as a whole. For example, we've used our robot in various other events throughout Roswell in the past year or two. And participating in the program gives those involved a sense of pride and spirit. Because when we go there, we're proud to be able to say that we're the robotics team from Roswell, New Mexico. And when we meet with the other teams from New Mexico, it's just a huge fest of New Mexican spirit.
Hello, my name is Morgan Stites. I am with Hangar 84 Robotics, and we are a part of the Texas District. In lieu of that, we have to travel out of state to our competitions. So we are here tonight to ask for permission to travel to Amarillo on March 12th and to El Paso on March 27th. We would appreciate it tremendously. Thank you for your time this evening.
Good job, guys. Thank you. All right, well, do we have any questions or discussion among the board? If there is not, may I have a motion to approve?
Well, I have a question though. So, sorry. So when are y'all traveling? What is the date of your travel?
March
12th
12th and March 27th.
March 12th and March 27th. How did I miss that? 12th and the 27th.
And if you need to ask some more questions, feel free. They need to get used to it for competition.
So tell us about your competition and what you plan on doing with that information that you gain from going to this competition.
Well, a big part of going to the competition is preparing for the competition next year in a way, because first year, we made a robot and we did well, but second year, we did so much better because we were able to use our robot in the field, and we were also able to look at other teams' robots. We were able to improve. We were able to start the engineering design process over again and improve on what we built and use the experience that we gained in order to succeed.
And hopefully recruit other members?
Oh yes, it's a whole team.
It's open to every school, Goddard, Roswell High, University. It's mostly college.
Okay, so we should see the other schools hitting us up for money.
Also freshmen, we have a few freshmen here, and they come into the program as well.
I have a question.
Any grade?
Freshmen? Oh, nice. Sophomores? Juniors? And no seniors? Oh.
Who are the sponsors for your team?
We are currently looking for more sponsors, but right now what we're doing is we're going to local businesses in Roswell to try and get them to sponsor us. We do have banners in competition where we give them something back. In our banners, we have their logo, and we just go from there.
Very cool.
Perfect.
I'd like to know who are the teachers involved that are going to be traveling with you.
Miss Batista,
Okay.
Miss Huckabee, Mr. Kirk, and Walter Lowe. Walter Lowe is a former education teacher from Berendo Middle School, I believe, but he's come back and helped us each year. We also have several other members from the community that randomly step in, or there's former robotics teachers from Eunice that have come down on a weekend and helped us. There's another team from Alamogordo who mentor us as the mentors. In addition, they typically come on Saturdays, help the team. They also bring their teams to help teach our guys how to do, whether it be wiring, programming, whatever, and we'll help with everything. So while there's set mentors here, there's also a broad array of mentors that we've Skyped in from California, Indiana, across the board.
So you're still involved with the robotics team?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you find the time?
I was going to ask that.
Ma'am, I don't sleep.
Obviously.
Miss Batista, do you feel confident that the funds will be raised in time?
With these guys, yeah. So with these guys, and then truly, thanks, we had to have a major push last year to earn 13 grand just for, we qualified for what would have been the state championship. They were ranked 26th of, I believe, 198 teams across Texas and New Mexico. The kids have raised about 9 grand of that. We only had a few days left. Dr. McElroy was keeping up on that on the daily, and when she found out we needed about 3 grand more in 3 days, she came through with it by asking other people. And so these kids are great. They'll hit the streets and be able to ask as many businesses as they can. They bring in money from Montana, California, Florida, anywhere that they have family or friends. So with them behind the wheel, yes, I believe so. And then in addition to support from leadership, yes.
Very cool.
So how much are you asking for?
They're not asking for any right now.
Okay.
They
They
just
want travel.
permission to travel.
Just want permission.
Every competition is about $4 grand, and we're hoping to go to district, which is in San Antonio.
And that's
Probably
when
gonna
you.
be a bit more, but.
Okay.
Good.
And
Okay.
that 4 grand includes all travel costs, et cetera. Our registration fees have already been covered. Thanks again to Jen Cole, who helped find some funds for us there. But yeah, so the kids will raise about 4 grand for each trip, including buses, food, hotel, et cetera.
Nice. Thank you,
All right.
Ms. Batista, for
Yeah.
your dedication,
They make it worth it.
All right.
obviously.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, well then, do I have a motion to approve
So moved.
their travel? So I have a motion by Ms. Morales. Do I have a second?
I second. Oh, you-
Okay, second made by Mr. Edwards. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Now we have approval of, you guys can go
Thanks,
sit
guys.
down. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Sorry, we'll just stand there.
Thank you. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Awesome.
You'll do great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good luck. Good luck.
Sir?
I forgot to give you all your own bags. Last year they did, right?
Oh, from there, from the team?
Last year, that's sponsored.
Oh, how awesome is that? I was just gonna ask you
All
if
right.
donations from anybody.
Next, we have the GHS out-of-state travel to Texas Tech Health Science Center.
And Mr. Luck is here to discuss this field trip.
Hi, good evening, President Getty, Dr. McElroy. This is a trip that the Goddard High School Anatomy Department and just students in general have been taking for the last few years. I believe you have a little brief synopsis in your board packet that kind of describes what it is. Pretty much in plain English, we're going to get over there about 8 o'clock Texas time, so we're going to get our kids up really early. There is just about standing room only to get on this thing. We take generally about 53 kids because that's what our charter bus that we get will take. We use our funds for this. The kids kind of help raise a little bit of money. We do pitch in a little bit of travel. We get them over to Texas Tech. The tentative date right now, I believe, is March 5th, although this year they are proposing a couple different dates. But the one that Ms. White is requesting for right now is for March 5th. Phenomenal opportunity. Like I said, they're gonna tour the facility. They're actually gonna get into the gross human anatomy lab, have an opportunity to ask questions. And for positive and negative, it has been a life-changing event for most of the kids that have been on this. And we've had several students that have made decisions to continue forward, and even a few that have decided maybe not so much. But we're asking for your permission due to it being an out-of-state venture for us to be able to get to go.
Okay.
And I do recommend approval of this travel request on March 5th for Goddard High School.
Any questions or discussion?
So all of the kids that attend this trip, they're all in the anatomy program?
The majority of them, yes. They have to sign up. Like I said, there generally is a waiting list to get to go on this trip. And it is promoted generally out of the anatomy class itself, but it's not limited to just that.
And how many staff members are going?
We'll generally send at least 3 staff members with us. That's about an appropriate number. We get to group up when we get over to Texas Tech, and we try to send somebody with as many of the kids as we can. It's usually Miss White, for sure, and then at least 2 other volunteers that go. And as of right now, we don't know who exactly those will be. At least one chaperone is a male, and then we generally try to send usually our trainer to go with to kind of help answer some questions as far as what did they have to do whenever they were in that particular class. It seems to serve our purposes fairly well.
Anything else?
Well, I like the idea of the schedule, and I see right here, it says gross anatomy orientation. Gross anatomy tour. Interesting.
I'll just leave it at that.
I don't know if that's an adjective or if it's just a proper noun.
Noun.
Just,
Worthwhile, I'll say that. It's
Go into your board.
very good.
Anything else? All right, with that, do I have a motion to approve this out-of-state travel?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have the Brendo Middle School donation from KISS Institute for Practical Robotics.
yes, and I don't know if that's an acronym for anything or not, but, because I don't have it spelled out for me, maybe Ms. Hillman knows. But, I do recommend approval of the Brendo Middle School, $6,354 donation from the KISS Institute for Practical Robotics. That total entails 6 robotics kits valued at $500 each, and 6 Dell Chromebooks valued at $559 each.
Okay, I really want to know what that means. KISS.
The KISS Institute. And how do you get in there?
I don't think I have kisses. I have lots of kisses, sorry, but I don't know their.
Kinetics teaching teams. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's,
Intelligence teaching teams.
I don't have their acronym, sorry. I just know what they're
Oh,
doing.
man, I'm gonna look it up on Google.
Yeah.
Everybody Google.
Not today.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, not right now,
KISS
anyway.
Institute for Practical Robotics.
Okay. Well, if we don't have that, then I'm gonna have to, no, I'm just kidding.
Deny because you can't be
All we know is
kissed.
that they are a nonprofit STEM-based education organization, and they recently received funds from Dell Computers Legacy of Good Youth Learning. And so that's what this fund, that's what's funding this donation to Brendo Middle School.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any other questions other than that?
So my only question, Ms. Hillman, it's a wonderful opportunity. This is exciting. How do we spread this to other schools within the district? How did you get connected with KISS?
I think I have a lot of teachers who spend all their time looking for how we can get opportunities like this, but we do typically share with our compadres when we come across something that they can apply for also. So this one had a time limit on it. There were only 4 awarded in New Mexico. She caught on to it kind of at the end of the opportunity, and then we were one of the 4 awarded in New Mexico. But we try to share them with everyone else as we get things.
Anything else? Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Morales. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second made by Mr. Edwards. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion carried.
Thank you all. I'll look for KISS and email you tomorrow.
Looking forward to that, Ms. Hillman.
Next, we have an RFP recommendation, asbestos abatement services.
So I do recommend approval of RFP number 20-03, the asbestos abatement services. And Mr. Tweet is here to stand for questions. Right? That's why you're here, right? Sorry.
Which
Bus.
facilities are we abating?
What schools? Yes.
President Getty, Dr. McElroy, members of the board, if you do have any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them for you. It's time for us to look for another vendor to perform these services for us. We did an RFP for it. We had 3 vendors that responded. I think you have some summary information in your notes. And going through the evaluation process, we just felt that the vendor we're recommending was the best to perform the duties for us.
What facilities do we have on the list to be abated?
Honestly, I am not sure of what any immediate projects that we have on, but just as some come up, we have somebody in our pocket to do them.
I know they were scored on proximity. Is the top vendor local?
No, we didn't have any local vendors. I think the closest we did have was Lovington. The vendor that we're recommending is out of Albuquerque. The previous vendor that we had, and we used them for about 6 years, was also out of Albuquerque. And surprisingly, the vendor that we're choosing had the quickest response time of all the vendors who submitted.
So there's no current sites that are gonna be abated, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And these are really not any major projects to my understanding, but just as maybe some security camera installations happen at school or something, or at some of the older schools, some areas get not invaded, but work done in some of the older corridors or areas where there could be asbestos in the ceiling or something.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to approve this RFP?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Morales. I think she was first. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Oh, next we have the policy for board organizational meeting.
First reading.
First reading.
And so this is the first reading of policy B-0900, board organizational meeting. This policy specifically addresses the change in the election laws. Previously, when boards were elected in November, the policy was to elect or reorganize in January. Well, now with the when they were in February, it was in March. Now that they're in November, it's to be done in January. And so that's the only change, is the month from March to January. And so I do recommend approval of the policy recommendation.
And this is the first reading.
It is a
so-
first reading.
So we don't even have to really vote on this.
We don't
It's just a
vote on
first
this
reading,
one.
so. All right. Reports?
So we're good with that? No
Yeah, there's
changes or
no-
discussion?
Well, if there is discussion, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't ask. Good job. Thank you. All right. Okay.
So in reports, you've been given a copy of the personnel reports, and stand for any questions.
Dr. McElroy, I do have a couple of questions related to personnel. If you can answer, or maybe Mr. Byrd. Does the district conduct a survey or an exit interview to collect data as to why teachers are leaving? Are we gathering that information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How are we using the data? Like, are we getting good data from it that we can actually use to try to improve?
So it's a relatively new process, and I'll give a shout out to Maria Trujillo, who came up and we collaborated and put it together. It's on SurveyMonkey, so it's a fairly new process that we've started using, and so we have a little bit of data to that, but not a significant amount as to what what I'd like to see. I think by the end of the actual school year, May, I think we would have enough data gathered that'll give us a little bit better idea. I mean, because, we can take, the information that we have now, but we are using one, yes.
Awesome. It's exciting to hear. Maybe in May we can look at some of the data when we've collected enough.
And I apologize, I missed that. So that's for the exit interview?
Yes.
So what are we,
It's done on SurveyMonkey.
so what are we going to do with that data once we collect it?
Once we collect it, we need to then look at what are some of the things that we're not doing to support teachers, EAs, custodial maintenance staff. I mean, just to, what processes are we not doing as a district as a whole that we can improve to make it to where people want to stay with us?
We might be able to use it to help us in the budget planning or something to prioritize the needs once we have the data to
Yes.
see why folks are leaving. And thank you. I see that we have some job fairs coming up. Besides the job fairs, I know some of the districts try to look enticing to new teachers. Like Carlsbad, we know they have the higher salary. Lake Arthur has early student release on Friday. Clovis gives a recruitment bonus for exemplary teachers. Do we have something in Roswell that we say, like surrounding difference have these different incentives? In Roswell, what can we offer to tell teachers to come here? Do we have that? Are we advertising anything specific?
So we have a relocation bonus at this point. I know there's been questions brought up prior about a signing bonus per se. And I know Mr. Cole has spoken about that with the anti-donation clause. One of the things that we've looked at, like with Clovis, there are some stipulations to that as far as extra training. And so they're actually, it's not just, hey, sign on the dotted line, we're going to give you this money, go on about your way. But, those are definitely things that, we can look at. I mean, I'm open to whatever it is, to make it to where teachers want to come and work for us. I mean, if we could all pay them, the $40 million a year like you see the NFL quarterbacks get, I'd love to do that. And so anything that we can do to think outside the box, I'm all for.
There is, I was informed today that the Legislative Finance Committee actually has kind of a buried little item in their proposed budget for sign-on bonuses. I will tell you, I heard that from the union, and they're not happy. Because what it does is it pits teacher against teacher. We used to have the hard-to-staff stipends for math and science teachers, bilingual special education, and it did cause some I don't know if it did here in Roswell, because I wasn't here then, but across the state, it caused a lot of concerns, because what if I'm an elementary teacher? Why don't I get a stipend? What if I'm an English teacher? Does that, so it kind of pit teacher against teacher. And so, so I will just tell you that there is that little pot of money in the Legislative Finance Committee's proposed budget for this legislative session, but I will tell you that the unions will fight it pretty handily.
I would still like us to be able to talk about different options. In Roswell,
Absolutely.
we have a need for math teachers. Like, our students are hurting at different schools, different levels. We have to think and talk about it. We have great partners within the community, so at least if we start thinking what's available, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't, but we have to do more. And then looking at, our numbers are great in some schools, not so great in other schools, but when we talk about substitute teachers, can you tell me what type of training are we doing? Like, how are we making sure that they're actually in the classroom teaching our students and being successful? Because we have to depend on substitutes when we don't have teachers.
So what happens a lot of times if we have a long-term sub, somebody who's going to take over a classroom, their training becomes a little more, I don't want to say intensive, but basically, our principals do a great job of getting together our team leader teachers on those grade levels, be it, or even content areas. So we're providing that support to those folks that if they take a long-term position during the school year, that they're getting that support at the school at the school level. And, you know, that's something that our principals, like I said, have done a great job with, because they want the best for our kids too. And so they're going they're going above and beyond. And we have other teachers that are going above and beyond to try to ensure that those substitutes are ready to try to provide, with their limited experience, the best, you know, opportunity for those kids in those classrooms.
Do we kind of measure the effectiveness of substitutes to know if a sub needs more support and training, or are we just depending on principals?
So principals, well, and since they're kind of the boots on the ground, seeing those folks every day, trust me, when we have some issues or things that aren't working out, that we need to provide support, they'll let me know. And then Maria, who does a great job of kind of stepping in and providing additional support from the district level. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got a very good open line of communication with the principals. I mean, I've even actually heard from grade level teachers when there's been concerns at different schools with a sub, that they've let me know that we've gone in and tried to, you know, do whatever we can to help support that person.
And last question.
Okay?
How is the district handling concerns from parents about their child not having access to a certified teacher, especially in the core area? I've had some parents at the high school level say that their child has not yet had access to a certified teacher, maybe in language or math, throughout their career that far. What options do they have, or how can we connect them with you, or what are we doing for those specific?
So they're more than happy to come speak with me, and I will visit with them. But what I'll do too is I'll refer them, and I'll go with them. I mean, I'll be a part of the process, but with our academic services department, because they're the ones that come up with different ideas. I know at the high school, they've utilized, Brian, help me. What's the math program? Computer? Is it Apex? Where the math teacher is online?
Proximity?
Proximity learning. So we are utilizing different avenues there. And I apologize, I couldn't think of the word or the company, but we are trying to, you know, utilize that too. And I know that's one thing that Goddard High School has really, you know, utilized over the last couple of years when they've had, you know, math vacancies.
Thank you.
Oh, and this may not be my place, but I do need to ask if you guys would visit as a group with our policy committee. Ms. Kirk's on it, but we need a new person that would like to serve on that. But I mean, again, I just wanted to make sure that you guys, and then just let me know.
Thank you.
Good job. That is something we did need to do today. Well, we can't do it today, but we'll do it next
Right.
time. Yeah, okay, we'll make sure that's on there next time.
And then you were provided the general ledger report, which is basically kind of goes along with all of your list of the 300 pages of checks that were written in the month. Is that about right, Chad? 300 pages? But it's a summation of that, so you can, by fund, can tell how the monies flew away sometimes, but flow through each of the different funds. And so just wanted to make you aware of that. That's all I have.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the general ledger report? I know that it's a big report.
It's this one here.
And I know that Chad can answer questions. I also know that Chad will pick up your phone call and answer questions as well. So you don't have to ask them here, but if you have one here, go ahead and ask. It's just Chad really knows how to talk. I love you, Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Getty. No, absolutely. If you guys ever have a question, please feel free to call me at any time, and I'll go through that. But yeah, if you see something that sticks out here with you tonight, I've never been afraid to answer a question. If I don't know it, I'll just tell you, I don't know, and I'll find out.
Do we have any questions?
The meetings for the budget, when do those start, in March?
So typically, we'll start those off in about February or March. First thing we're concerned with, of course, is the legislative session. So every year, that legislative session signs into law the appropriation that school districts will get. So that's kind of our starting point. Now, in a 60-day session, we'll run parallel, and we'll kind of monitor as we go. But yeah, we're looking at about late February, early March. Yes, ma'am.
And that's another committee that 2 board members sit on, so.
Absolutely. We'll need 2 board members for that one for you guys to think about and who would like to be on that.
Mr. Edwards, weren't you already on that committee?
No, I was on the audit.
Oh, audit,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
We'll make sure can you mark that? Make sure we have those things on the next, thank you.
That's all my reports.
All right. Guys, I know you all got your packets of applications. We would like more time to look over these. I know it was on the board, like the report to kind of pick these tonight. We would like to try and pick them, if possible, on Friday. So that gives us more time to go through the applications. If that's okay with everybody up here, I mean, it's not a vote, but just so you guys know, we'll go over that Friday at the board retreat. Is that cool for everybody?
Yes, please.
Okay. Uh-oh. I'm missing other things on mine. I know that we had,
We can go back to computer.
Mona wanted to say some things, so.
Well, I think, yeah, Hope and.
I'm
You got
next.
Hope on there.
All right, well, we'll get
Does
there.
it matter?
It doesn't matter, but
It's
Hope,
on
go
your
ahead.
agenda.
Board report.
Okay. So I did have some questions related to the university high school enrollment. It's my understanding that that school serves some of our most at-risk population. So I wanted to make sure that I understood the changes to enrollment, just so I have a better understanding, because I did have some parents reach out to me with concerns as well. So I was just hoping to clarify some of that information. So Dr. McElroy, in case you're able to answer any of these, or otherwise we can see who we need to talk to for these. But does University High School use the open enrollment policy to guide their enrollment procedures?
Students are not turned away from University High School. The enrollment process has not changed since I don't know when. So I'm not sure where that information's coming from, but the enrollment processes have not changed. Yes, University High School is in a high school redesign grant opportunity at the moment, mainly to make sure that to pay for a needs assessment, to make sure that it is still meeting the need of this community. And so, because I don't know how long ago it was established as an alternative high school, or the initial mission of that school, but communities change, and we need to make sure that our schools are responsive to those changes. And so the high school redesign is merely an opportunity to do a needs assessment to make sure that that university is still meeting the community need. If it is, and we need to do something better, then we find that out. If it isn't, and something needs to change, we find that out. And so that's what the redesign effort is all about. There are parameters. We have an obligation to make sure that we don't have a credit factory, that our credits mean something, that they mean something to the kid, and they mean something to the community and the future employer. And so in order for us to maintain our professional integrity as educators and as a school district, and you as board members, because you signed those diplomas, you are certifying that these kids know certain things. And so we do that by tracking their credits and the credits that they accrue toward meeting the statutory requirements for graduation. The University High School is on a different schedule. It's on a true block schedule, which means that a kid takes all of, say, their senior year of English in the first semester. It's more like a college type of course. Then the next semester they may take all of their math course. So just like in a college course, there's a cutoff time for you to acquire credit in that class. Because the teacher is saying, as a professional educator, I certify that this kid has met all of these standards. And after a certain time, that teacher can't do that anymore. And so that date is not something new. It has always been like that. There has not been a student turned away from University High School. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. But there is a difference, and just want to make sure that people understand, there is a difference between University High School and early college high school. Early college high school absolutely has an application process and an interview process, because that is a very special kind of kid that can manage that type of advanced curriculum, that pace of curriculum. University high school, on the other hand, it's more about, do you understand what the expectations are? So if there's an interview, that's what it is. Do you understand the expectations? Do you understand where you are academically? Do you understand? Because we've got a job to do. And many of the students that go to university go there because they're significantly behind in acquiring the credits they need to graduate from high school. And let's face it, when a kid has to have 24 credits to graduate, and they're coming in January of their senior year, and they've got 10, and that happens, there's got to be a pretty serious commitment on that student and on that family's part to work with the school to be able to earn the credits. Because again, it is the reputation of this district and of this board and of those teachers to verify that that kid actually knows what they're supposed to know and be able to do. So university does a really, really good job of trying to meet the need of every single kid. And they have the flexibility to do that to a point. And again, without crossing that integrity threshold. But just because a kid's not able to start now doesn't mean that they're not ever able to start. It may be a delay so that they can get them into the proper sequence.
Well, I do know some students have been turned away, and it may be because they were not able to commit. You know, there might have been a reason. But can we do better about informing the public about what the criteria is, so that they understand when you go to the interview process, you will be willing to commit to these things? Otherwise, you know, you may not be accepted. But just be more open about the criteria related to credits or whatever it is.
And I haven't been on their new webpage, but that would be a good place for that to be posted.
What is the enrollment cap at University High School? Do we know?
I don't know that we necessarily have an enrollment cap. Not one that
Or a enrollment goal?
I've never been given. I know university, I know at early college, we're limited because of space and agreement with the university out there. But, you know, University High School, right now, we're limited just simply by staff members and being able to staff enough. Because it's, you know, you've got one English teacher, you have one math teacher, you have one, so that kind of limits as far as class load. So you're looking at class load at the secondary level or at the high school level, maximum is supposed to be 150, 160 kids, so.
Could we each year, based on the staff, kind of talk about what that goal is, what enrollment should be about, so at least the board is aware of what enrollment could be that year based on staff? So that the public is better aware whenever people are applying, well, maybe we're too close to that, or there's plenty of room, come on down.
Well, and there really still, there is always room at University High School. We're not at 150. One of the things that the comprehensive high schools are doing a better job of is hanging on to those kids and working with kids rather than saying, hey, you're too far behind, you're just gonna have to go to university. And that is the tendency for all districts. I'm just gonna tell you, as a former alternative high school principal, I know that was the the tendency of my district at that time. That's the tendency. But what the comprehensive high schools here in town have committed to do is we're gonna hang on to our kids, we're responsible for them, and we want them to be our graduates. And that then, university is really for those specialized situations where, you know, there's childcare issues, or there's, you know, this kid is the breadwinner for the family and we need some special circumstances. You're meeting really specific individualized needs that maybe one of our bigger high schools aren't able to accommodate. But it's also for those kids who absolutely want to go out there to get an amazing education from some amazing teachers in a smaller setting. And there are those kids in high school that really don't care if they have a prom, or really don't care if there's a football team. And so that's just fluff to them that's unnecessary. So it's a really great niche school for those kids who just want to go out there and take care of business and get it done. And so I want people to know about that too.
Right.
It's not just if you're behind, or not just if you're in trouble. It's a great school for kids as a great valuable option for the town. So.
And my last question is really for the board. I want to see if the board is interested in collecting data on this. My concern is that if a student applies to University High School and they're not accepted, are they dropping out of school? Are they going back to Roswell High or Goddard? So I wanted to see if we could look at last year's data specifically for students who, and it sounds like it's not going to be many, but students who were not accepted to University High School. Are they still current students, or did we lose them in that process? Because I want to make sure we're not losing students.
Is there an opportunity to check with the principal? Would the principal have that data? Okay, that might be, we can track that through the principal. And I have a question piggyback off of Hope's. Do we know what the current enrollment at UHS is?
I don't have it off the top of my head, no.
Does anybody?
The current enrollment at University High is 100 as of today, was 130 kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Getty, so is this data that the board would like to see?
Well, I mean, what we can do is if you would request in writing for the next board meeting to have that data, we can get that to you.
Okay.
I'm sure. Well, not me, but yeah, we can make sure that's.
If
that's
it's
on there.
something that the board would like to have, we can get it to you before then.
Okay.
Maybe
Yes.
just a presentation, maybe at our board retreat or our next board retreat. Not
Next
this one?
Yeah, not this one.
This one's
This
full.
one's
Yeah.
pretty full.
Okay, at our next one then.
We could
maybe
do the next
can-
one or the next board meeting, or we could just have a written report before. What do you want, guys?
I mean, we can send you the information by email,
Sounds
Yeah.
just
good.
as easily.
That sounds good.
Let's
And
just
it may be
get an
plenty,
email?
or we may have questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Can you send me that
For Dr.
specific question?
About University
Yes,
High?
about
Okay.
University High. I know that in the community, we keep hearing students coming to us that they have been refused entrance. My question is also, when was this application implemented for entry as a student to go to the University High? And is it in Spanish for the students? Did the board approve this application?
All I've been told about that is that none of those processes have been changed in several years.
Okay.
Several years.
Okay, so you're saying that no students have been refused, and so you haven't had any
Not to my
hearings?
knowledge,
Any
no.
hearings whatsoever?
No.
Any appeals of any students at all?
No students have been refused, to my
So-
knowledge.
So would you be able to tell me how many teachers left at the semester of 2017, 18, all the way to now, till December 2019? At some point,
From 2017,
2017,
From-
2018?
From UHS?
Yes,
How many teachers
Mhm.
have left UHS?
but you could do it another time.
Can I send you-
Absolutely, yes. And do you know if there were exit interviews conducted from these teachers?
Probably not at that
Okay.
time.
So there's no data on that?
Probably not that far back.
Okay.
no.
And do you have a record of how many students have left at the end of the year the 2017 all the way to now? To last semester of students? Anywhere? No data?
The school would have that information.
Okay, would I be able to see that at some point?
Request that data. Are you
I'm requesting the data, yes.
Okay.
Uh,
So you want to include that in the email? Whoever, yeah, from the school?
mhm.
Okay. We
So
can-
also, do you know how many long-term subs you've had as of last semester?
At UHS?
Yeah, at USA, yes.
At
At
UHS?
University High,
Okay.
yes. all the
This
questions.
last semester,
Mhm.
just one.
Okay, all right. And I think that in order to solve some of the dropout crisis, I think we must first address a widespread misunderstanding that these students are not giving up on their education. I think a lot of them are just being pushed out. So we need to address that concern in order to meet the New Mexico Hispanic Act of 2010. We also need to address the Bilingual Multicultural Education Act of 2004, and definitely need to meet the Yahtzee Martinez. I don't think we're in compliance whatsoever with the Yahtzee, so we need to really work on that to be in compliance. So.
Okay.
And I also had another question, if you're able to answer it. How much time does the principal that is assigned to that school has spent? How much time does she, or?
We can't talk about
Okay,
that?
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a,
That's something private, okay.
Yeah.
That's another question. Okay, thank you, that's all.
Excuse me, can I?
about UHS?
Yes.
Sure.
You know, the enrollment at University High School, and I've kept up with the enrollment at University High School that I'm at the college. The numbers didn't just start going down this year, the year before. It goes back probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And I know for a fact, because that's where my offices were located. That's where I started at University High School with the Head Start program. The numbers have been going down for the last couple of years, and that's been one of my biggest questions that I didn't ask because it never came up. But the numbers have been dropping tremendously. I don't know whether it was under this, I know it started before this administration took over. I can go back probably 2 or 3 superintendents because I've kept up with that. And you know, my offices were located out there when we were graduating 105, 110 kids, 115 kids. And when I first got on the board, that was one of the questions that I should have asked, but I didn't ask. And this is the first time it's been brought up, but you know, we're graduating 30 kids, 40 kids, when in the past we were graduating a little over 100, 115. A small graduation was 70 kids, 80 kids. And we have a lot of the staff that were teachers out at University High School when they first started, because the program actually started here, Nuevo Comienzo. So it did start here, and there have been a lot of kids that have needed that. I know a lot of those kids. That school actually has saved a lot of lives. I was good friends with a guy by the name of Bruce Ritter, and he was a good shaker and baker here in Roswell. And one of the things that he always told me was, when it came down to scholarships and his group giving scholarships, those kids were far above the kids at Roswell and Goddard. And so when we talk about University High School, we've got to get back what we had. And one of the things is, and I've heard this from people from Roswell and Goddard, if we're holding on to those kids and they don't want to be at Roswell or Goddard, either we're going to lose them, which they're going to drop out. The school was created as an alternative school so they could go to that place, recoup their credits, and become productive citizens. And I don't think that diplomas have changed from, I believe it was 1990 to 2020. A diploma is still a diploma. And I know what those kids went through to get those diplomas. I've been told that a lot of kids were losing them because Goddard and Roswell are holding on to them. And they're dropping out, and it's also affecting Goddard and Roswell's graduation rates, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I'd rather see a kid graduate from University High School than not graduate at all. And I'm just talking personally for myself. We need to really look at what has happened with those numbers. If we're growing, university should be growing. If we're losing, university should be losing. But, you know, it bugs me that we have 136 kids in four grade levels. You know, if you do the math, what does that come out to? So I think we do need to really take a look at it. And who's involved in this reshaping of University High School?
It's the high school, and it's a planning year. And so this is the year for the needs assessment.
Right.
And so the needs assessment is actually, the hope is that it will involve focus groups of not just kids at university, but kids at Roswell High, kids at Goddard, to see, you know, what do y'all need? I mean, what's the need? It would also involve community, parents, teachers, a very comprehensive needs assessment. So it's not just the kids that are currently being served, but is there something else that needs to be provided to kids that would be appealing to them, that might compel them to choose university? But we don't know that because we haven't been asking. And so that's what and so that's all this is all about this year. And then based on the results of that needs assessment, then it will determine whether or not we pursue additional funding to do whatever, to implement whatever is found from the needs assessment.
Dr. McElroy, when is that needs assessment's due date? Do we have a date that it needs to be completed?
No. They're working through, it's called a high school redesign network. I know they had a Zoom conference today. I have not been able to visit with anybody to see what the result of that was or what the information was in that meeting today. But it's all about how to structure to get the broad scope of data that we need, the information we need from, you know, all the different factions around town to inform whether or not the way the current structure, the way it's currently structured, is it meeting the need? Is it meeting all of the need? Because, I mean, it may be meeting some, but we may be not meeting all. And so what are we missing?
Okay.
So no, but I don't have any deadlines.
Okay, thanks.
Would it be reasonable for us to ask that we see something maybe in May, some of the data that might be collected, just so that we have a date that we are looking forward to?
Let me double check on that, and I can certainly provide you with that information.
Perfect.
Is that it for UHS?
Yes.
All right, Mona, you have the floor.
Okay, mine is welcome back. So we're starting a new decade, 2020, and I can't tell you the number, yeah, I still write checks. Number of checks I've written today that had 2019, and I had to go back and initial and cross out and write 2020. So I just want to say, welcome back, everyone. Let's take a deep breath. The second semester is always the trying one. We've got testing right around the corner. Unfortunately, that's when right after testing we start seeing more behaviors. God, I hate that word. So just hang in there out there in viewing land. Welcome. It's great seeing all the people and sitting in the audience, welcoming our new board members. So thank you all for being here, and let's make 2020 a great year. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have to read this A letter? Do I have to read this?
What?
This big A, do I have to read that red?
Yes.
I knew it. Okay. I knew I was gonna have to read that. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of Roswell Independent School District will meet in executive session pursuant to 10-15-I, NMSA, I'm not going to go through all that, pending litigations and section regarding limited personnel matters. May I have a motion to go into executive session regarding pending litigations and the superintendent's contract?
So moved.
So moved.
Uh,
I second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk, a second made by Ms. Sanchez. May I have a roll call, please?
Oh.
Getty?
Yes?
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sargent?
Yes.
Let's give you guys 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
And we are,
Meet in the HR conference room upstairs.
HR, did you guys hear that? James? Hilda, we're gonna meet in the HR conference room upstairs. What's that?
That's upstairs.
Just go down the hallway. We'll show you.
We'll see you then. We take all our stuff or we'll leave it here? Okay.
Yes. Actually, you can leave pretty much everything here because anything we do in executive session, we have to come back. I want to know. I dropped my lid. Well, I was so fidgety. There it is. I got it.
Sorry.
James.
We're good.
Oh, my goodness.
You wanna keep it together, or you wanna just slide it over?
You can.
Look at all these interested parties.
May I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
I have a motion made by Ms. Morales. May I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Edwards. May I have a roll call, please? Oh, sorry, Julie. I'm so,
Who was the motion made by?
Ms. Morales,
Second?
Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. Alan Getty?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
It's you.
Okay. I move that the Roswell Independent School District Board accept the resignation of Superintendent Lynn McEnroy, consistent with the terms of the agreement executed this evening by the board and Dr. McEnroy.
And I second.
I have a motion made by Ms. Sanchez and a second made by Ms. Kirk.
Roll call.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Alan Getty?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
I move that the board appoint Mr. Mike Gottlieb as the acting superintendent for the term of January 15th, 2020 through June 30th of 2020.
I second that motion.
I have a motion made by Mr. Edwards and a second made by Ms. Kirk. Oh, is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alan Getty?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to, this is the end of the agenda.
Before we exit, I did hand out the priorities sheet, and I want to remind, I'm sorry.
I would rather not. We talked about this in the executive session. I want to end this. Can we do that?
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
Thanks.
if we don't mind
This-
just staying for a second, so I
This,
can, okay.
this is the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion made by
Second.
Mr. Edwards, a second made by Ms. Sanchez. Roll call, please. Sorry, Julie.
Alan Getty?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.